situation. How dare I say such a horrible thing? How dare I stir up trouble and inflame feelings by repeating such a conversation? My answer is that I do not have the right not to do so.
This is the most deceptive, vicious world. It is vicious, it's full of lies, deceit, and deception.
See, the Jews are all through the government, and we have got to get in those areas. We've got to get the man in charge who's not Jewish, control the Jewish.
Monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations.
And now, coming to you from the realm of reason, this is The Fetch, and you are live inside the eye. All right, everybody, from Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, this is indeed The Fetch, and you are indeed live inside the eye. Today's date is Saturday, March the 7th, 2026, and a good Saturday morning to everyone listening up and down the Americas and on into Canada, and a good late afternoon to early evening to everyone in the European and West Asian time zones, and a good late evening, of course, to everybody listening in far eastern time zones and wherever you are listening out there on the World Wide Web. May all be well with you and you. Yeah, we're still going out. Okay, great, because I heard it disconnect. Okay, anyways, current weather here. It's kind of a cool day here in Riyadh. Temperatures hit just 79 degrees with clouds from a weak storm front kind of drifting through. We've got some thunderstorms coming in, thunder cells or whatever you call those, drifting in. You know, you can hear it off in the distance, not anything locally here, but you can hear them off in the distance. So that's been coming in, especially after like 5 o'clock. We're currently sitting at 7 o'clock now. Current temperature, nice, comfortable 75 degrees with a fairly brisk breeze of around 14 miles per hour coming out of the south to southeast, and overall we're expecting to have more unstable weather throughout the night with some thunderstorms perhaps blowing through, and the overnight low is expected to get around 61. I'm going to type that in there, 61 degrees. So there you have it. You're up to date with the weather here in Riyadh. Of course, the weather geopolitically is a bit different, but before we get into that, I want to first, I'm going to just head on over to the chat room because I want to see if somebody is there in the chat room first. You can visit the chat room at Inside the Eye Live. I am not there yet, but I'm going to head there now. InsideTheEyeLive.com/live chat. It is early, I understand, and it's pulling up now. Let me see who's there. Already we are doing okay. We're actually humming along from the very beginning. That's kind of good. Let's see. I'm looking to see if somebody's there. Just hold, my eyes are just that bad. Hold on. Okay, I don't see. Now here's what's happening. If you recall, right after 2016 or so, this was kind of like the peak period of the alternative right, as it was called back then. A lot of us were working the space, obviously. There was a lot of pivots from a lot of the people that were working the internet from 2007, 8, 9, 10, up until 13, 14, 15. And then it became very clear to everybody that Western civilization was and remains under a pretty much existential threat. In fact, it's an attack. And we see that going on in the UK today. We see it, of course, going on in Germany, Italy, France, Spain, you name it. All of Western civilization, essentially, except for maybe Poland and Hungary have been a little bit holdouts here. But nonetheless, we have seen a very strong assault on Western civilization. So what happened was that during the early days of the internet, 2005, 6, 7, it was kind of like the wild, wild west. You had the assholes, literally assholes, the trolls out there were disrupting everything and everybody that was actually trying to put out some decent, hard-earned, hard work information using the news internet back in the day as a self-publishing platform. We were often harassed, trolled, silenced, deplatformed even back in those days from many, many, many sites. Most of this was caused by Jewish people, and that's what woke up a lot of us to the Jewish problem. And what happened, though, is around 2011, 12, 13, there was a lot of pivots into the political world. This resulted in what became then known as the alt-right. This was a big pivot, the biggest one out there, and I still respect these guys, Red Ice Radio, and myself and quite a few others. We were hitting back in the day weekly cumes, 6, 7, 8,000 downloads a week for our show. We're nowhere near that now. Now it's going to get way less, and here's why. We were using a platform, a website called Grizzom.blogspot.com. Now, Grizzom was also known as Mammy's Shit. It was an eclectic group of people. What they did is they took a lot of the unique shows that were actually being done here in this genre, this space. They would edit out the commercials. They would edit out the faux pas. They would edit out a lot of the headaches that go on with live streaming, especially back in the day. And you could go to Grizzom and you can get all of these shows basically commercial free. From Rents would be like the star, Rents Radio. Certainly Inside the Eye Live was a perennial star there and remained even to this day. We learned just this week that Grizzom.blogspot.com has now been deplatformed. Why? Whether it was taken down by Zapopper, who was basically running the show over there, or if it's been deplatformed by some other thing, whether it's Google, legal challenges, whatever the case. But Grizzom has been taken down. Now, Grizzom was our primary distribution point for this show. Frankly, I didn't bother doing any archiving at all. Zapopper over at Grizzom was my main archiver. So literally he would record the shows, he would edit out all the commercials for you, take care of any headaches. We have a lot of technical issues sometimes with this show. Edit those out and then put those up, and he has my passwords, he has everything to do what was necessary to keep the show up and running on an archive basis. Now that has been taken down. As of just about 2, 3, 4 days ago, I've gotten a few emails about this, hey, what's going on? I didn't know, I didn't understand. Then I went and verified it myself. Sure enough, it has been taken down. So our main distribution hub for this show has been now taken down. Now, this show continues to have a very hard dedicated core audience. You guys know that, those of you over at Revolution Radio, and our new audience and friends over at Rumble, which is now streaming live. Should be streaming live also. I'm assuming it is. I haven't checked yet. But Grizzom is down. And so we will have to come up with a new way to start the distribution all over again. Castbox was not really producing much for us, maybe 3, 4, 5 a day, or 5 a week. It was ridiculous. It was doing better, but we had our website also. We had Inside the Eye Live taken down for about 9 months, and we lost a lot of momentum there too. So what's been happening in a very real way is that Inside the Eye Live, through Grizzom, through other channels, we have been one of the most targeted websites, probably platforms going, and you don't hear about it. We're not debanked. We're not, fortunately for that, we're not debanked. Of course, we're not in America, so it's a little bit more difficult to reach us. I don't maintain a network that's easily to do something like that. But nonetheless, Inside the Eye Live has been one of the forefront leaders, let's just say the vanguards of the narratives that you hear today. You heard this week with Kabod being mentioned by Tucker Carlson, for instance. As you know, we were covering this stuff over a decade ago. Much of what we were doing a decade ago is becoming monetized and mainstreamed today. Now, I'm okay with all of that. It has always been more of an ideological move when it came to our work here in the alternative media and the presentation of Inside the Eye Live. What we mean by that is we've always been focused on how do we shift the narrative, how do we twist, how do we turn, how do we educate, how do we cajole, how do we inspire, how do we get other people to talk about it. And of course, you never know how it goes. You know, we were reaching, we know for a fact, 7,000, 5,000, 7,000 back 2014, 15, 16. And then, of course, once the algorithm started to bite on us, we saw the numbers crater. Then we went through years of just burnout, guys. You know, burnout from like 2019 to 24. A lot of burnout, a lot of lacking of motivation. We kept the show going, but there wasn't the same motivation to work hard and get the numbers out, yada, yada, yada. We just kept the show going. We kept it really for you, the core audience, and you are still there. I mean, you're still here and you're still listening to the show, and we, of course, appreciate that. So now we're in a situation today that we don't have the key distribution we used to have because now Grizzom is down. That was our main distribution hub. This was getting roughly 600, 800,000 page views a month based on the metrics that we had available to us, which is a huge number. I mean, it's not top 100, but it's still a really healthy number. It's probably in the top 1,000 sites worldwide. Now, we've lost that effectively this week. So we will look to see what we can do to recreate now new distribution channels. That's going to be perhaps a focus. Maybe we create a new website. I don't know, just to honor what Grizzom has done. Maybe we call it Grizzom.com or maybe we call it mammyshit.com. But we will look to do something once I can get in touch with everybody to see what we can do to try to keep the archive type system we had in place going for you, the audience. I've gotten multiple questions and emails from different parts of the world even asking, hey, what's going on? Well, kind of that's what's going on. It's been deplatformed. I can't confirm how or why. I don't know if it was shut down by Zapopper due to legal issues up in Canada. I can't give you any information as of this stage. But seeing how that was our number one distribution point, and we know a lot of you learned about this show through that website, we thought we should raise this as an initial issue. That's kind of hard to say. An initial issue to start the show. So to those of you who are listening and would like to know what's going on, well, that's kind of what is going on. That's the latest news I have for this type of information. So that's the latest in that regard. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Yeah, we're doing okay. I got to fix my blinking light up above me here. I got to bring in my electrician and fix that. All right. So basically, guys, welcome Inside the Eye Live. Chat room again, InsideTheEyeLive.com. Click on the live chat button. Rumble, we are streaming theoretically. Let me go take a look. Theoretically, let me check. I'm going to go check. Theoretically, inside, let's go Rumble, rumble.com. There we go, rumble.com. Since no one's told me, I'm going to go check myself. And go to check Inside the Eye Live. Inside the Eye Live. We thought we were banned at Rumble, by the way. We had a hard time setting up the feed today. And yes, we are live. I see people there. It's still loading for me, but I see people there. So I believe we are live. But it's not popping for me. Let me see. Yeah, it did pop for me. So, okay, it's quiet there. But the cats, yes, the cats are... I was teasing, if you remember, Lee Rogers over at InfoStormer, of course. He was former owner of Oracle Broadcasting, which was one of the key drivers in the early days of this genre. And he, of course, has his kittens, and I was teasing him. He didn't respond, but I was teasing. I said, I'm the guy that popularized cats in this whole thing, all right? I'm the guy that did the cat report every week. I'm the guy that popularized that, all right? But he's now doing, he's got his kittens and stuff, and if you hate kittens, you hate, I don't know, his tagline there. But we wish Lee also, and if you notice, there's just a lot of us in the internet in this genre that are off now. We've splintered. We've gone our own ways. We're all doing our own thing. But at the end of the day, hey, we keep the message going, and we are really the vanguard that really works on the narratives that become the mainstream. Now, if you are following on Rumble, you know that we've been doing a section called Perspectives that comes in between the commercial breaks over at revolution.radio. And this week, try to listen to the whole thing, because it gets into the morphing of narratives and how it's now mainstream, with like Tucker speaking about kabod and things of this nature. So you might want to follow that along and kind of see how an LLM AI is characterizing our work here in this alternative media space. So, all right, let me move on to obviously the pressing news of the week, and that is the ongoing now war between the United States and Israel and Iran. And what was fascinating this week is the amount of effort, once again, by the Israeli fifth column elements, people like Mark Levin, I believe. Mark Levin. I think it's Mark Levin. See, I don't even really care about this guy that much, other than he's screaming every day. But he's a big pundit, considered a conservative pundit in America, constantly speaking about how, we need to go fight Iran, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you have to remember here that we are now only about a week. This is the 8th day. It started last Saturday, so this is day 8, technically. Regarding this whole affair, we're not even into the 12-day mark, which was the previous war between Israel and Iran. Now, the difference here is that now Israel has the United States, full backing of the United States in this. Now, what everybody is starting to grasp, and I don't know how to quite state this, I guess. Since I'm doing radio, I got to keep the jaw moving, right? But we saw a poll, or at least they're promoting polls about the MAGA movement, that 90% of MAGA actually is supporting this war. Now, I don't know where they're getting these polls. Really, I don't know. I haven't seen that data. I don't know how on earth 90% of MAGA could actually be backing Donald Trump on this issue. I just can't see it. I know a lot of us are not happy with what we're seeing here. Obviously, I live here. It's causing a lot of chaos in the area, especially, obviously for business. Dubai is shut down. Dubai is a major hub. I understand that Dubai airport was again hit today. And so Dubai Emirati Airlines, which is the national carrier of the United Arab Emirates, has announced that they are closing all flights now completely and indefinitely. They'll make an announcement when they start flights up again. It looks like drones were trying to hit one of the power stations that helps keep the runways and everything else up and running. It takes a lot of power to run the train, the lights, the radar systems, and all of this. Now, the radar systems at Dubai International have not been hit, but it looks like they went after a power station today. I don't know if there was any real damage to that power station, but they did. It looks like they hit a power station. It's off in the corner near, this interjunction of some of the freeways there. So Emirati Airways is shutting down. Last week, we brought to you the idea of a separation of blocks, meaning that Dubai, first I want to say two things about the people in Dubai. Number one is they have a very draconian internet, I don't want to call it censorship, but they have a very draconian internet usage law, if we want to use the term law, I guess. And if you remember back in the days, if you were like the target of the trolling networks, and if you remember the old days of the internet, there were a lot of these trolling networks. And the trolling networks, if they decided that you were a bad guy, they would go out and ratio you, and they would destroy your reputation. There was a guy that was in Santa Cruz, for instance, and he had made a donation to, what's that guy's name? Oh, what is that guy's name? The guy out of Louisiana or something like that. What's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. What is his name? I forget his name. He was the KKK guy. See, that tells you how much I follow these guys. I really don't. But he was like the KKK guy. I forget his name. But partly got a PhD out of Ukraine. You guys know who I'm talking about, who know what I'm talking about. You guys know. I just forget his name. But this guy's name was Han. And he was married to a Chinese gal. And he had a Chinese restaurant in Santa Cruz. And he made like a $500 donation to... What's his name, man? What is his name? I forget. He's not that important to me, I guess. I guaranteed he's not that important to me. But nonetheless, I forget. But he makes this $500 donation. And he, I know you guys are probably telling me in the chat room. Let me see. David Duke. There he goes. I was thinking David Irving. And I knew it's not David Irving. Yeah, David Duke. He had made a $500 donation to David Duke. Now, you got these guys in the Jewish community. They track every single thing like this. They spy everywhere in America. They flagged that this guy, Han, had made the $500 donation to Duke's campaign. And then they went out and they ratioed his restaurant. He had a fairly successful restaurant. They made it almost impossible for him to do business. He ended up having to shut down his business. He lost his business simply because he made a $500 donation to David Duke. Now, last I heard, this is America. You should be able to support whatever candidate you want, and you should be able to do so without a malicious effort by Jewish people to shut you down, ratio your business, make it impossible for you to do business. Now, in Dubai, they're familiar with this behavior, okay? So what they did is they put in a law that basically said if you defame anybody and cause harm to a business, you're going to have to pay the penalties, you're going to have to pay for the damage you've caused. You may serve jail time. They have a zero tolerance, in fact, for this type of behavior. So what happens is that a lot of people in the Middle East, especially in the Dubai area, is if you leave a negative comment about any type of establishment, if you're not really careful how you did it, oftentimes the establishments will come after you and you have a 90% chance of losing. There was a recent case of a guy, Indian guy, who made a disparaging remark. He was taken to court. He lost the court. But he's saying, hey, look, this company is saying we cost them all of this money. Show us their revenues. How can you say we lost them all this money? They aren't that big to lose this much money. This is ridiculous. And the court said, no, pay up. There was no questioning. The court just took the business side. So that is what happens in Dubai. Now, Dubai also has a very draconian idea about their image. And that's going on very much so throughout the Middle East, even in America perhaps, but especially the Middle East. So the war in Iran, there's a lot of censorship. Just deal with it. In Israel, they are hiding so much of the problems that they have. Wartime censorship in Israel is literally through the roof. It's very hard to get any information out of Israel. Same in Dubai. Dubai has got a policy that if you speak disparagingly of Dubai, you have the risk of running up into fines of 200,000 dirham, which is about what? 37,000, maybe $50,000, something to that effect, a little bit less maybe, but around $50,000. Yeah, about $50,000, a little bit less, maybe $45,000 plus jail time. So, you're and they come after you. Now, that's the bad side of Dubai. There are other elements of Dubai that are probably on the nefarious side. But on the flip side, they do take care of their people. In other words, they would take care of you. They're forcing the hotels to not cancel any guests. In other words, if guests cannot get home because the flights are down, the government put out a mandate. You must not kick them out of your hotels, and we, the government, will pay for it. So there are some good things, of course, some bad things too. But this is kind of what's going on here in the Middle East right now, is this information tit for tat or tug of war, whatever you want to call it. All right, there is the break, and we're going to go into the perspectives piece on Rumble. So for those at Rumble, we'll be moving over to that right away. And to the use of you at Revolution Radio, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. It's the Fetch inside the Live. I'm afraid to touch the mic. It's like, don't frickin' disconnect on me, but I need to adjust you. Hello. All right. It's the Fetch, everybody. Inside the Iron Live, intelligent media for the politically aware. Join us again either way, revolution.radio. Of course, we stream there live initially. I got to get to see what's going on over there. Get in touch with the folks behind the scenes over there. See what's happening. And then, of course, we are now live over at Rumble. And you can follow us at Rumble. Go to InsideTheEyeLive.com. Make sure you follow the show. Frankly, we're trying to get up to 100 if you can. If some of you can go over, I don't need a whole lot, just 3, 4, 5 of you. Go over and follow Radio ITEL also, which is like the parent account to this. Because we really had some trouble logging in today. It says, you don't have 5 followers. It's like, yes, we do. But anyways, we had to do a few reboots. We finally got it to work, and we're able to get the live stream up and running, which is all well and good, of course. So we are now live. So anyways, that would be at Radio ITEL. But Inside the Eye Live, of course, is the main account for the show. So follow us over at Inside the Eye Live on Rumble, and that would be all kind of good. Back in the old days, this was the time to do the cat report. Right now, I don't see any cats. They're all like hiding. Ling Ning ran out today, so I don't know where she's at. But yeah, no cats right now. There's one cat, Gingy. Gingy's like a big boy, skittish as hell. He wants attention. You ever notice that about some cats or animals? They want attention. The second you approach them, they run away. It's like they want the attention, but they're afraid. Excuse me. I don't know why this cat is so afraid, by the way, but he's very afraid. He's so skittish. Kind of white with ginger color hair. Oh, there they are. Now they're here. Hey, come. Okay, never mind. She's a terror. I call her a terrorist because she tears up the house. But I don't know what she's doing. Hell, I can't even see what that is. But anyway, she's tearing up the house. She's just a terrorist, man. All right. So anyways, cats are just hanging out, having fun. They're still kittens. They like to play a lot. All right, so I don't have a whole lot of cat report there. I'll leave that for Lee Rogers now and his kittens. Okay, where do we want to go with the show? Excuse me. Getting better, by the way, but the cough. Okay, let me just start this. There's a high probability we are going to be gone traveling this coming week. So we will still try to do a show next week. I just want to give you a heads up that if we can't do it because I don't have internet or something, we'll try to get someone live to come in and do the show for you. But, chances are I'm going to do the show. I'm not going to be hiding. I'm going to try not to do the show. But we will be traveling next week over the next maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks. So we're not going to be here in our favorite studio where we can actually relax and just do a show. We're going to be traveling, but we will, again, continue to put on the show. So don't worry about that. Other than just be forewarned if something happens, that's kind of what's happening. All right. Oh, thank you, dude. I'm doing fine on Rumble. You guys just can't hear me there. Hold on here. Thank you that's a great take, man. Way to come in. All right, studio. It's like I got an ear in my backward. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that, guys. I got a real studio, man. That was so awesome. The guy like comes into the room. Hey, Dennis, I think you're like muted. I was muted on Revolution Radio. You didn't lose too much, guys. We were just talking about cat reports and how we might be traveling, and that's all you really lost. So, what's cool about this show is you guys know this happens a lot, and so you're very patient with me. Thank you for that. But that was really cool, dude. Breaking in like that. That was awesome, man. I felt like I was on a real, a real live radio show where the producer kind of like, hey, don't forget you're going in a break in 30 seconds. Start winding it down. All right, awesome, dude. That was actually pretty cool. That was awesome. All right. Do that anytime. That was really good. All right. I don't know if you went out, but nonetheless, it's cool. All right, cool. All right, let me get back to the war here in Iran. A couple things that I've noticed here. Number one is I guess we're going to go off script now. I'm holding my phone just as it's a crutch or something. I know why, but hey. I just want to go a little bit off track a little bit. Well, first, let me kind of back up. The main issue I thought was interesting this week was Kabod. Kabod Lubavitch, Tucker Carlson actually bringing up. Can you imagine Tucker Carlson 5 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago, bringing up the idea that Kabod Lubavitch are the main people behind the wars and the settler movement in Israel, and that they control much of the United States, they control much of various Western governments. Who would have thought Tucker would have actually brought that up? And you had so many Jewish people from Mark Levin and many others talk about how Tucker's gone off the rails, Tucker this, Tucker that, Tucker's evil, especially like Laura Loomer. I don't even know what that thing is, to be honest with you. But talking about how Tucker is just evil, he's gone off the rails. He's now just a spokesperson for Qatar, and he's a spokesperson for Russia, and he's un-American, and he needs to be eliminated from MAGA. You had Trump coming out this week saying that Tucker's lost his way, as if this is some cult or something, and he's been now removed from MAGA. My views on this are pretty much simple. MAGA as a movement is a nationalist populist movement, but it has always been a movement that was dedicated to crypto Israel first policies. We've known that all along. We talked about Geert Wilders in I think Denmark, and you had even Orban, you know what I mean? Even Orban in Hungary. All of these guys are crypto Israel first. And it's the degree to which they become Israel first that is determined by the amount of resistance in their particular countries. So the more you come out like a Tommy Robinson, Israel first, he's pro-is, but he's so far up the you-know-what of the Israelis, he's an Israeli agent. He's actually an Israeli agent. Trump has come out and proven to be an Israeli agent. Now, what's very fascinating about the Trump phenomena, a lot of us, let's not kid anybody here, a lot of us supported Trump in 2015 leading into 2016. You had voices in this space, people we collaborated with, like man, my brain is slow today. Shoot, I forgot his name. Renegade Broadcasting. What was his name? Kyle Hunt. Kyle Hunt. How can you forget Kyle? He was always a good guy for me for the most part. But Kyle Hunt, he was like one of the very first to start talking about Trump is basically an Israeli asset. And of course, he was part of our inner network. A lot of us kind of put it aside, but we didn't throw it away because Kyle's, somebody that's always been a legitimate an analyst of what's going on out there relative to our greater network. We all have our own views, our own ways. And Kyle was one of these guys that whether you liked him or didn't like him, he was still rather astute on a lot of his observations. And he had been calling out Trump very early. And a lot of us saw that, yeah, Kyle, you may be right here, but the alternative back in the day was we're going to have to do something because Hillary was a total nightmare. So we thought with a Trump we could buy some time. We were able to do that. The fact of the matter is that the Trump phenomena has turned 180 degrees based on what he had campaigned even up into 2024. We have so many statements, and I don't have the clips to play for you, and you've probably heard a lot of them, but Trump is calling out this idea that, it was stupid. We sent trillions against Iraq, and what do we get for it? We got nothing for it. And these are just stupid wars. We can't get involved in the Middle East, yada, yada. Same with Pete Hegseth. Same with the Kristi Noem. I heard she was fired, by the way. I don't know if that's true. I got to look that up maybe in one of the breaks. But I heard she was let go this week. I don't know if that's true. There's so much disinformation on the net. You got to be very careful what you read and then go live with on the air. It's just being pragmatic. You can't just take anything and run with it. It's in today's world. So the reality is that Trump has turned 180 degrees. But the reality of it is that Trump did not become this way until it became absolutely necessary to become this way. Now, we've had so many statements coming out of the administration in Israel that essentially tells us that this war is being fought by and for and on Israel's behalf. We had Marco Rubio say so. We had some other, don't recall who it was, but somebody else said so. We've had spokespeople coming out of Israel saying that essentially, we don't know, as if Israel's calling the shots, we don't know if we're going to need to put boots on the ground. We've had statements from people in Israel stating something to the effect that, we've been waiting 47 years to do this, and we are, we're going to be patient, but we are not going to let the opportunity go by. We want to achieve our objectives. So imagine, Israel's been trying to do this for 47 years. They finally got a president literally stupid enough or corrupt enough to convince to move and actually go to war with Iran. Now, is this good for the United States? I don't see how you can see that, because we've lost, we had 8 THAAD. THAAD batteries are these something high altitude air defense system. I don't know if it's thermal or something like what the T stands for. But it essentially is able to see not satellites, but interballistic launches from about 5,000 kilometers away. It's part of our early warning system. We had 8 batteries going into this event. 4 of those in the Middle East have been destroyed. Apparently there's 1 more. So all of our THAAD batteries were really there to protect Israel more than the United States. So if you think about it, apparently there's 1 more THAAD battery left in Israel, which probably will get destroyed, as we've learned from the war in Ukraine. I mean, the Russians, the Chinese, and the people they support, in this case, it's going to be Iran. They have a very good knack of getting the intel, targeting them, and taking them out. But we've lost 4 of our THAAD radars. You're looking at almost $1 billion, 500 million, $1 billion each. Completely wiped out. Our base in Manama, the 5th Fleet, has been completely pretty much obliterated. Al-Udeid Air Base is being completely shredded to pieces now. We have many bases inside of the UAE which are being shredded. We've had multiple bases. We have something like 25 to 28 bases now in the Middle East have been targeted and are getting shredded as we speak. Then you have the statements coming out of the White House and the Secretary of War, which sounds to me stupid, to be honest with you. Secretary of War, I'm the Secretary of War. It just sounds stupid, to be honest. But they're out there telling us how everything is going swimmingly well and how they're going to have complete air superiority over the skies of Iran. Iran, guys, is like the size of Western Europe. It's like half the size of the United States proper. It's a huge country. And it's like they think they're going to have complete air superiority, that they've knocked everything out. We've got 60% of the launchers knocked out. Do you really believe that from these people? I actually don't. But that's what they're telling us. Now, here's what I understand about what the Americans are doing. They just sold emergency lift, basically. Marco Rubio, through the State Department, has approved something like 12,000. See if I can pull up this data here. 12,000. I'm going to try to pull this one up. 12,000. Because I have the actual data here. Let me just pull it up. This one. Just 1 second while it pulls up. Yeah, here it is. 12,000. What is the exact bomb? Because it's enormous what they're doing. 12,000. What's the name of the bomb? BLU 110A/Bs, 1,000-pound bombs. 12,000 of these have been sold to Israel. Now, to put this into perspective, and what we saw in Gaza, and something I have raised to everybody before during the Gaza campaign, the bombs themselves are fitted with J-dams. These are essentially kits that allow them to glide and hit specific targets very precisely. The problem is that the blast radius on these, the absolute kill zone, is 200 meters, roughly 2 football fields wide, or diameter, 2 football fields. But the actual, let's say, critical area, both from a destruction zone, meaning other buildings, plus the danger to personnel, both death and injury, is up to 1 kilometer in diameter, 500 yards in diameter, something to that effect. So even though you target a specific building accurately, what you're really doing is you're taking out basically a 1 square kilometer area where you're going to destroy this area. The first initial 200, let's say, yards or 200 meters is going to be an absolute death zone. After that, it spreads out. Now, these are 445-pound bombs, or 202 kilograms here. The total weight is 1,000 pounds, but there's 445 pounds of actually high explosives in this. It's a PBXN-109. You can look into that. I haven't looked into that. So the severe damage radius, again, approximately half a kilometer, 1,640 feet. That's the radius. So you're going to have to multiply that. It's almost a square mile. 1 square mile, I'm not sure what it is, but a square mile is 5,280 feet. So this is like 1,000, let's say 3,280. It's like 60% of a mile. You know what I mean? A square mile, something to that effect. So you're looking at the 200-meter absolute kill ratio, total destruction, and then severe or structural damage is going to be out to 500 meters or half a kilometer. Now, the practical effect this is, if you really visualize it, you're looking at the Gaza Strip, which was 365 kilometers squared, okay? The total destructive area of these bombs that they are selling to Israel, put a big, quotation mark on that, is 1,512 square kilometers. That means that we could cover the Gaza Strip 4.1 times. Beirut is 19.8 kilometers. That means we can level the entire capital city of Lebanon 76 times. Okay, think about that. We're giving Israel enough bombs to blow up Beirut 76 times. Okay, 76 times. Now, the state of Israel, or the colony of whatever you want to call these people, is 22,145 square kilometers. So the severe damage of the 12,000 bombs would be 9,420 square kilometers. So roughly 42% of Israel would be wiped out. But when you think about it, all this is indiscriminate bombing through targeted bombing. Now, what they're doing is this. Now, don't, take it with a grain of salt that I'm actually right. But think about it logically. You're selling a country 12,000 bombs, all right? They're talking about, excuse me, getting air superiority over Tehran or over Iran. The reality of it is there's enough bombs there to essentially take out an area the size of Connecticut, the state of Connecticut, something to that effect. The JDAM kits allow for a bit of standoff bombing, which means that you can release it from a reasonable distance and the bombs are going to glide to their target. Similar to what we hear going on in Ukraine now with Russia's glide bombs. So you have the blast zone, you have the fragmentation zone, and when you look it all through, 12,000 of these, what you're really doing is creating what we could call herbicide. You're destroying entire urban centers. You're not carpet bombing using your B-52s and just dropping them. What you're doing is they're using AI to strategically target the city so they know exactly where to drop the bombs so that the blast radius with this type of building, this type of height, this type of mortar construction, meaning the bricks or whatever, hollow block, whatever, they can start to calculate how to drop these bombs to more think about this now, cost effectively destroy and level the city. All under the guise of targeting, strategic targeting, precision targeting. The precision targeting is not precise because the blast is so big. The terminal zone is almost a square kilometer or a kilometer in radius, okay? Yes, there are issues with the buildings, but the problem with the buildings, right? If you hit a building, they can actually use, guys, the AI to target a particular corner of the building. So they know exactly where to hit the building based on its structure so that it can come down more efficiently. And then they don't have to use 2 bombs to take down the building and flatten it compared to 1 bomb. That's what's going on here. That's my theory. Now, again, I could be wrong, but think about it. The war is business. You know what I mean? You want to flatten an urban area. You want to do it with the most cost-effective means possible. Okay, you're going to use AI. AI can sit there and target up to 250 locations a day. That means that an average human targeting specialist has about 30 seconds to actually analyze what's going on and make a decision. See, the human analyst has to override the AI to give it, quote unquote, this legal legitimacy. Then what they're doing is they are fusing it to, well, okay, target A had a phone conversation with somebody in target B, or let's say, change that again. Target person A had a phone conversation with somebody in target B, and then target B met with somebody that also had a communication with target A, and they're both in this particular building at this point in time, or they've been known to show up there. So therefore, it's relevant, and we're going to target that section now after this. So they're creating essentially this AI justification, literally to level cities. And if you look at what they did in Gaza, that's what they did. They were using AI, I don't know the program like Lavender or something like that, to literally level Gaza. It's like 83% of Gaza literally is reduced to rubble, all right, using these types of bombs. Now, we said last week that there were a number of A-10s sitting in, I believe, Jordan. The A-10 is only typically used for close air combat support. That means if you have boots on the ground, what you need to do is bring in the A-10 Warthog so you can support the infantry on the ground. Low and slow and swing around and take out any tanks or any type of other positions that might be surrounding your people. Now we're hearing that the American administration wants to take out what's called, we have 1 more minute. Karj Island. Okay, Karj Island is like a main island for controlling the oil trade inside of Iran. So essentially, you have an administration here that is going after resources. Why? My opinion is they're broke. They're bankrupt. They don't have any way to actually survive. And because of that, they need as much of the raw materials as possible. They tried to get trillions of dollars worth out of Ukraine. Russia said, thank you very much for your interest, but we're not interested in you controlling this, so we're going to put a stop to this. And this is where we're at today. Now a long attrition war because the American administration needs resources because they are dead flat broke. It's the Fetch. Back with more right after this.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Let me unmute this for everybody. All right, welcome back. It's the Fetch Inside the Eye Live. That's a very long break, by the way, because each perspective segments, guys, is 5 minutes. So that means if you hear it repeating, that's a 5-minute break. That's kind of long. Got to cut that down for the poor radio guys. All right, so I almost have to make it like 6 minutes for break 2. Okay, perspectives, that is, but it's like more work. Anyways, guys, welcome back. It's the Fetch Inside the Eye Live, intelligent media for the politically aware. All right, if you recall last week, we were discussing an idea of the Middle East splitting up into blocks. And when we discussed this, we were saying, look, it's a block that would go India, UAE, Israel, and Saudi, Jordan, Syria. Now, Jordan is the prize because Jordan is like on both sides of the fence. They're like riding. Now, I think they will side with Saudi ultimately because of the ties of the Hashemite kingdom to northern Saudi. But, you know, in geopolitics, you can never be 100% sure. So what has happened is this. Saudi, their business model is something called Agenda 2030 or Vision 2030. And it's completely different than the World Economic Forum. Vision 2030 is about creating manufacturing jobs for Saudis to diversify away from oil, to keep, you know, more opportunities for Saudis. I'm very, very intimately involved in how this all works, frankly. And I support it, actually, because it is their country. They should be able to increase the wages. Now, obviously, Saudis have to get in and they have to get their hands dirty. They got to learn to work to compete on an international level. That is 100% sure and true, but I still support the entire idea anyways. So what happens, though, is this. If you're going to build your economy out, the last thing you want to do is create strife all around you. Because if you create strife all around you, guess what? There goes your markets. If you're trying to create a business model where you want to start exporting your goods into the region and then internationally, if your region is scattered and splintered, that goes against your interests. Now, for Dubai or the United Arab Emirates, their whole business model has always been to be the gateway to Saudi Arabia. You know, Saudi Arabia traditionally was closed. So everybody would set up their headquarters in Dubai. And from there, you could just make a flight into Saudi Arabia. A lot of preferential customs issues between the GCC. You could bring your products into Dubai. And I don't have a problem with all of this, by the way. But it's just how it worked. But the employment wasn't going to Saudi because the headquarters were always in Dubai. Now, if your headquarters is in Riyadh or another city inside of Saudi, that means you're going to bring all those jobs to Saudi. You're going to bring the investment to Saudi. Dubai or UAE has been working hand in hand with the Israelis to essentially carve up the Middle East. There's been a lot of tension between Saudi and Dubai or UAE about UAE's efforts, let's say in Yemen, in Sudan, in Somaliland. And so it's come to a head even to the point of the Saudis actually bombing some of Dubai's or UAE's proxies in Yemen. So it's close to a shooting war because they are quote unquote brothers. They don't want to get into an open spat that becomes very clearly open, but there is an underlying problem between the two countries. They won't admit it, but it's there, okay? every bit as much so as it was there between Qatar and Saudi a few years ago, which saw them break actually diplomatic ties for a brief period of time. So essentially, Dubai is like a Trojan horse. They are the forward-leaning operative for Israel in splitting up the Middle East. They fund a lot of these issues. They support it militarily. They have a fairly robust defense base, so they're able to manufacture a lot of their own weapon systems. Obviously, I know this because I've been around the weapons people, been to the trade shows, been to IDEX, been to the Dubai Air Show, many things I've seen, okay? I've met people I can't get into inside of Dubai where I kind of know who does what, who has what contracts, you name it. Now, between the two countries, there's no real interest for Saudi to be involved in a war. That's my personal opinion. We've got, let's say, reports of Mossad being arrested here in Saudi. There has been, I've seen two reports. One said, yeah, this is actually true. Another says, actually, no, it's not true. You had Tucker Carlson reporting on this themselves. The Qataris came out and said, no, Tucker's not right about this. This never happened. But nonetheless, the reality of it is that the attacks, let's say a percentage of the attacks here in Saudi, in Qatar, in Azerbaijan, in Cyprus were not actually done by the Iranians. They were done by, let's say, PMCs, private mercenary companies, okay? Private military companies, mercenary companies, what do you want to call them? So we know this is going on. I'm sure Saudi knows. They got far more resources than I got. And I'm just using intellectual reasoning, deductive logic. It makes sense, frankly, for Israel to try to drag Saudi to go fight the Iranians. It makes sense for Israel to get the Emiratis to fight against the Iranians. It makes sense for them to get the Iraqis, the Kurds, everybody to go fight for Israel against Israel's enemy. That's how Israel works. We know that. Now, this has already been mentioned in some intellectual circles here in Saudi Arabia, where essentially, look, this is a trap. What the Israelis want us to do is go to war against Iran, and all this does is serve Israeli interests. It's not going to serve our interests. So from what I have heard, there are some very serious backdoor channels going on. Now, they opened up let's say, the relationship with Iran quite some time ago. And maybe, 6-7 months ago, you've had, at the time, the Iranian Navy has actually worked with the Saudi Navy and patrolling parts of the Straits of Hormuz. Essentially, the idea is to keep the Straits of Hormuz open, but not have to use U.S. naval power. So what the U.S. Navy has been doing, the U.S. government has been pushing Saudi to do is, look, increase your deep water fleet because we can't keep affording to police the Straits of Hormuz. We need you to do it. It's more economically vital to you than to us directly. So we need you to do this and not us. So Saudi's been doing that. They've been building up their deep blue water fleet, which means it's things that operate a little bit more than 5, 10, 15 kilometers from shore. They were working with the Iranian Navy, and they've been working together to try to police this. But what happened was, of course, as we all know, Israel's been trying to go to war with Iran for 47 years. Now, 47 years is a very long time. They finally got a president, honestly, stupid enough to actually do it. Now, they can claim all they want that, we're winning the war. And I'll tell you, the bravado of a Pete Hegseth, I don't know about you, but I just go from the sporting world, You can always have bravado, but you got to be always respecting your opponent because at any given time you can lose. At any given time. So even though you may know you're going to kill your opponent, You didn't go out of your way to use bravado to try to insult your opponent. That's just something you don't do. But what we've noticed from this administration is they've taken on this almost messianic messaging, to where they are going to go out and they're going to destroy the Iranians, and the Iranians are going to be doing all the dying. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've seen the damage to some of our bases, how is it we only have 4 dead? You know what I mean? In other words, I'm not sure that our government is telling us the truth. We know they hide data. And chances are we've got a lot more dead than just 4. Just common sense. Looking at, my goodness, the base up in Erbil was a massive fireball. You didn't have any deaths up there? Really? Okay. You didn't have any other deaths going on in Al Udeid or some of the bases in the Emirates? Are you sure? So for the Saudis, they're just saying, hey, look, they've opened up channels backdoor. They want to stop Iran from going after their strategic assets, which would be, of course, their oil fields, first and foremost. Ports would be obviously second. And maybe they could get the oil to flow through the Straits of Hormuz. Who knows? That's still down. Brent crude, I hear, is up to like $90 a barrel now, from what, 68 just before this started. So you're talking about a 40% increase, something to that, 35% increase in just a week. It's going to go higher because the Straits of Hormuz are not going to go opening. But my point to all this is that the Saudis, true to what I believe and I claimed last week, is that they're looking for an off-ramp for themselves. Now, the Iranians saying, look, no problem, but just get the Americans off of your territory so they're not using your territory to attack us. Now, there was a rumor only, because I have not been able to confirm this, that the United Arab Emirates has already come down with a decision to evict all U.S.-based personnel from the United Arab Emirates. There was a billionaire, I don't have his name, but there was a billionaire, very, let's just say, senior-level elite guy in the UAE, went up, made a statement, and he's pissed at everybody. He's saying, hey, look, who are you, the Americans, to do this and bring us into this? Who are you to sit there and start bombing around and dragging us into this mess? We want no part of this mess. We were not a party to this mess. We don't want to be a party to this. Who are you to drag us into this? So there's some very high-level anger right now towards the United States in the region, because they have basically, with the Israelis, unilaterally gone after and started a war that's not going to end anytime soon. We called it last week, minimum of a month, okay? Minimum of 1 month. Now, you've taken out all the leadership in Iran. You're bragging about it. What do you think is going to happen? You got Trump up there saying, we need a unilateral, not ceasefire. We need unconditional surrender. I mean, you don't have any boots on the ground. You're just sitting there bombing with these standoff munitions. You're bragging how you're going to kill everybody anyways. And then you're going to sit there and get up with your bravado and say, you know what, if you don't unilaterally or unconditionally surrender, we're just going to keep killing everybody. All you're going to do, dude, is you're going to start using the 12,000 bombs that you just bought to start literally flattening parts of Iran. That's it. Is that going to take out the leadership? You're going to get some people, but you're sitting there now. It's being documented. You're doing just like Israel. You're hitting hospitals. You're hitting schools. You're doing your child sacrifice for the Jews, so you can just go ahead and keep hitting schools, so you get more kids dying. You know, there's 20 more killed yesterday in an attack on a school. It's like, what the hell? Our leadership in America is becoming purely Talmudic jackasses, but it's more that sadists. Let's call them sadists. And frankly, I'm a little tired of it. There was a clip coming out of Pete Hegseth, and just to highlight the ghoulishness of these people. It's become ghoulish, guys, sadistic. And frankly, it's unbecoming of a civilized nation. It really is. It's unbecoming. And what I'm referring to in this case is the attack on the, let me see if I can get to it here. Not the notifications, this one. The attack on, let's see, is this it? No. Yeah, the attack here. I don't have the name of the ship in this thing, but it was a Iranian ship. And let me just play the clip for you of Pete Hegseth talking about this.
Indian Ocean. And we'll play it on the screen there. An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
Now, I can't speak for you, all right? But I can only give you my impression of this. That warship was invited by India for essentially a parade of goodwill. Okay, a parade of goodwill. The United States was actually also a party to this parade of naval vessels as part of goodwill. At the last second, the United States pulls out of this. A lot of these soldiers were essentially not really, a lot of them were ceremonial. You had a percentage of these guys that were ceremonial guys, okay? Parade type of guys, basically just to promote the goodwill between countries. And this happens a lot in the military. This isn't unique to just Iran or, even America. We do this. We will parade our guys as a show of goodwill between different countries. But to sit there and torpedo a boat in this way, thousands of miles away from their home turf, 2,000 miles away from Iran, and then you don't even go out there and you don't even try to save anybody, violating the basic tenets of humanity and the wars of the rules of engagement of war on the sea. You blow it up like you're some badass guy, and what to me was just a cowardice move. Then you run away and you don't even try to save anybody. You leave it for the Sri Lankans, which is got a limited amount of resources, to go out there and actually try to save these people. In the end, only 37 survivors of, I think, a crew of like 250, something to that effect. And you're bragging about it on national TV. Oh, we're playing for keeps. Dude, that is the most cowardly thing I've seen us do as Americans, probably since, I don't know, dropping incendiary bombs on Dresden. That was pretty cowardly. How about what you did to many of the towns inside of Iraq? Let's say the road of death, where you had all these Iraqis retreating, and you just senselessly murdered everybody on the road, the highway to hell or something like that. In other words, this is a level of cowardice that, frankly, I find unbecoming of the American way. And as we understand, trust me, we are not naive here. We do understand that the American military is largely a cowardly organization when it comes to its elite, let's say, decision-making levels. It follows Talmudic systems. It doesn't follow our Anglo-Saxon systems. In the Anglo-Saxon world, the European world, there was a level of chivalry which brought about the Geneva Convention. There was always this level of chivalry in warfare. You don't sit there and kill people that are already, let's say, incapacitated. That's just straight up murder. What Hegseth has done here is he's done either two things. He's either just become using the U.S. military, the Navy, as open-faced murder of these sailors, or he's committed a war crime because he didn't do anything to actually surface and actually try to help the survivors. Nothing. Now, there was a case back in the World War II. The Germans, the bad guys, as the Jews would like to make it out to be, right? The Germans always had a policy to where if they torpedoed a ship, they then would surface and then rescue the people that they had just sunk, meaning their ship. This was a standard practice of the German Navy. This changed off, I think, somewhere, not Tunisia, I think Algerian coast, where the Germans sunk a ship. It was actually a troop carrier. They brought in, they surfaced. They had servicemen, American servicemen or British servicemen, literally on the hull of the submarine, inside the submarine, and then some jackass in a B-24 bomber starts strafing and trying to sink the submarine with all these Americans on board or British on board. The Germans had come up, they'd surfaced, mentioned in English, they gave their coordinates, said, hey, look, we are at these coordinates, we are here to conduct a rescue mission, we have just sunk this ship, we are here to do a rescue mission, and then the Americans sitting there bombing them. Again, cowardice. After this event, then the Germans stopped trying to save people at sea. So again, the cowardice of the American, let's say, military leadership literally prolongs suffering, increases people dying, violates any tenets of Western civilization. When World War II ended, for instance, the harsh treatment given to the German soldiers, hey, look, they were doing their job just like every American was doing their job back in the day. They believed in the cause. They were fighting. Germans ended up losing. They're captured by the millions. They're treated literally to the point of starvation, where 1 million plus died in the Rhine-Metal camps. And you had General Patton, who was about as tough as they get, saying he's shocked by the treatment we are doing to the German people. This is not the Anglo-Saxon. This is not the Anglo way. This is the Judaic way. This is all Talmudic. So this is part of the problem. Inside of the United States administration, we are controlled by Talmudic forces. So therefore, we have no mercy. We have no empathy. We have no common sense. We don't have any decency. We have no morals. We don't have any ethics. We're just out there to use our weapons to just kill people. You want to create a lot of suffering? Hey, look, there's a nice school here. Target it. 165 girls are killed. Good job. Let's give that as a sacrifice to Jews and their God. Same thing with the school yesterday. 60 boys died because basically they're out playing soccer and they got targeted by another bomb. I mean, again, the problem we have in America is Jewish control. There is no reason, frankly, there's zero reason for this level of carnage and destruction against people. You're sitting there telling the Iranians, as President Trump is, we need unconditional surrender. Okay, how about you out there? You know your situation. You know the Americans can't come to sit there and land on your territory. Now you're talking about, okay, we won't land on their territory. We'll just take Karj Island. And if we take Karj Island, we can control the strategic split. You really think you're going to survive there for long? I mean, who makes the rules? Pete Hegseth? Who makes the plans? Pete Hegseth? Where all he can do is brag about the cowardice of torpedoing a ship at sea and then not even rescuing anybody? He's talking about how, we're going to, the other side is going to do all the dying. We're not going to do any dying here. I mean, what is this? Because American servicemen are dying. We don't care about the Israelis dying. Let's be honest. We don't care. Fine, whatever. We don't care. But at the same time, at what stage do you want to be seen as an American person or somebody of the West as being driven by Talmudic bloodlust? I can't get into that as a person on a moral level, on an ethical level. I just can't go down that road. To me, this is a crime of monstrous proportions, and frankly, Hegseth should be tried for it. There shouldn't be, and as part of the problem for us in the West is we have been going for too long, too long, just dismissing the crimes that our leadership involves themselves in. As if somehow we can never, ever hold our own people responsible. And this is a major problem for us because now our entire elite institutions are filled with these people that are not being held to account. It's The Fetch. Back with more right after this. All right, everybody, welcome back. It's The Fetch. Let me unmute the radio side real fast, and we'll carry on. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's The Fetch, Inside the Eye, live intelligent media for the politically aware. We are broadcasting again on two channels right now. We may extend that, but not until after my trip for sure. I can't be doing all this on the road. But you can catch us at revolution.radio, revolution.radio. It's listener-sponsored and supported radio. It does rely upon your donations. Those of you listening to, support the network, keep the streams up, alive, and running. And we are simulcasting the show over to Rumble. And then you can find that at Rumble at Inside the Eye Live. Just go to Rumble, search Inside the Eye Live. And what we'd really like you to do, we're looking to get at least to that 100 basis, 100 subscribers or followers. We are like at 88 now, something like that. But if you can, we're asking you to subscribe there once again. It is social media. What can I say? Everything is done by subscribers. So if you can subscribe at Rumble, that would be awesome. We would appreciate that because, again, we are looking to grow this thing again. We've lost again to start the show. If you weren't here to start the show, Grizzom.blogspot.com has gone down. It is no longer available. I do not know. Let me go see if Zap's in the chat room. Sometimes he is. I don't see him in the chat room. Chat room's humming, by the way, over at Inside the Eye Live. It's humming along, which hasn't been for quite some time. But that's Inside the Eye Live. Click on the live chat button. That will get you in the door there. I don't see Zap there, so I've sent an email to Zap Opera, trying to get some feedback. What's really happening? What happened to Grizzom? I really don't know. But as you know, a lot of you, really long-time listeners, you used Grizzom for good reason. He put out a good product to listen to Inside the Eye Live. So, again, what we're going to be doing now is, and we have been doing it for the past month, is we are taking the Rumble feed. We have a live recording going here privately as part of the live stream. We edit out the commercials, which are the perspective pieces, and then we put it back live, edited on BitChute where we can, not always, because we're blocked with VPNs with BitChute, and on YouTube, where we have very small audience at YouTube, but you can pick it up live with all the edit, not live, but you can pick it up over at YouTube. So you want to check out YouTube, you can subscribe there, subscribe over at Rumble, and you could also subscribe over at BitChute. These are the places where it's largely being taken. Now I have to, with Zap Opera out, if I can't get deal done with him, we're going to have to find a way to do the MP3 sides of this and get the MP3s back up and running again, which we may put back up on InsideTheEyeLive.com. So that's the latest of what's going on there with the show. And make sure you can subscribe to all of these channels. We really, really would appreciate it. That would be awesome, to say the least. Okay. If you don't think that, Jews love you enough, I have a rabbi here talking to us about what they think about wars.
The origins of Christianity and how it wasn't an accident, but it was a gift, possibly a mistaken gift, that Yaakov Avinu gave Esau. You will live by the sword. You will serve your brother. This is what Yitzchak tells Esau. Yitzchak tells Esau, you'll live by the sword. You'll serve your brother. Literally, that means that, the Jews will have the shul, will have the house. And if you need someone to clean it, you call one of Esau's descendants to clean it. What is the meaning that Esau hated Yaakov because of the bracha? Again, we translate it literally. You will serve your brother. The word tavod, serve, has another meaning as well. You will worship Hashem. What does avodah mean? Avodah means service, but avodah means worship also. And this is the prophecy of Yitzchak Avinu, that the Christian world will worship Klal Yisrael as their God. V'rav yavod soyer. And the older brother not will serve the younger brother. The older brother will worship the younger brother as their religion. That Shem predicted from the beginning of time, that Esav will worship a Jew as their religion. That's the nevuah of Yitzchak Avinu. That's the nevuah of Shem. What an astounding nevuah. And if you want to know why Esav hates Yaakov, it's not because we're socialist, capitalist, Bundist, Yiddishist. The Esav hates Yaakov because they suffer from a lack of identity and self-confidence, and that they have to worship us. That's the root of anti-Semitism, says Moshe David.
So if you're not catching that, what he's basically saying is the non-Jewish world are not so subtly slaves to the Jewish people. They worship the Jewish people. And what's amazing here is that if you were a speaker in the Western world and you put this type of language out there, and who wants to sit there and put that type of language out there anyways? What a complete freaking punk moron flake, you know what I mean? But they believe it. They believe this stuff. They will sit there and go to their synagogues, and this guy's not unique to the Jewish people. This is normal Jewish speak out there within their rabbi networks. Jews are the supremacist people. The non-Jews are going to worship the Jews. And oy vey, that's the root of anti-Semitism, because they're envious of Jews, because Jews are so awesome and they have all the power, and you're just nothing but a piece of dog to them that's going to lick their shoes and do whatever they tell you to do. You need to clean the house? Shut up. Come and clean my house, goy. You know, you want to go fight our wars? Shut up and go fight our wars, goy. And it's like, can you imagine, honestly, that in our Western world, this would be our thinking? Like, can you imagine? It's like, no, we are so far elevated beyond this crude, almost subhuman mindset. You're dealing with an energy value that barely is above that of a rock. It's like, what the hell is the matter with these people? Well, they're Jews. That's what's the matter with them. What else can you say? I can't call it anything else. We can try. But what is the hell? They're Jews. They're just Jews, man. It's like, they're that freaking lame. They're that freaking stupid. But understand, they're that freaking dangerous. And they will do whatever they can to make sure that you continue to worship them. And you know, we have tens of millions of Christian Zionists who actually believe in this crap, that they are there to just serve Jews, and they need to bring about Armageddon so that we can go ahead and create the conditions for Jesus to come back. I mean, it's just some eschatological nutcase world we're living in right now. And the eschatological nutcases are the ones controlling the world. Not to mention, you know, the darker, deeper side of, let's say, the aliens eating babies, or shape-shifting aliens, or just psychopaths, you know, vampires, you know, torturing kids to get the adrenochrome so they can live longer. You know, lots of things going on, of course. But part of it is this Jewish element. And it's hard to dismiss that. It's not going to go away. Here's the comments. I just found it here. I'll give this here. The guy's name, he's a major figure in Dubai, UAE. And if he talks, you can be resting assured everybody in the Middle East is listening. It's not a small guy. And he's asking many questions to the American administration. Number one, was this your decision or Netanyahu's pressure? That's something they actually want to know. Was this your decision, Trump? Or was this because Netanyahu pressured you? 2, did you calculate collateral damage before firing? Probably no, because, again, we're dealing with these religious nutcases in control. They don't have the brains, frankly, to do that type of calculus. They believe they're on a mission. God's behind them. They're going to go ahead and defeat the great Satan, Hamdan, or whatever it is that the Jews called it, the Persians in this type of new Purim calculus, who knows? And they're just going to just win. I mean, it's going to be no problem here. He says here, you place GCC countries at the heart of danger they didn't choose. True. Then they ask a very interesting question. It says your Board of Peace initiatives were funded by the Gulf states. Now we're getting attacked. Where did that money go? See, they're actually asking now. You sit there and you funded Jared Kushner, the Likudniks. You're in bed with the Likudniks. First of all, what are you thinking anyways? Now, I do understand Dubai or UAE's geopolitical calculus. Because Saudi's stealing a lot of your business, you think if you can cause enough chaos, Saudi's going to become distracted, just Jewish thinking here, and they're not going to be able to actually continue with their Vision 2030. You can keep your corporate headquarter people staying in Dubai, and Saudi's going to have a problem, and you're going to go on and continue as business as normal. Well, those days are done, dudes. Finished. I guarantee you it's finished. The mindset here in Saudi is we need to crush Dubai. Seriously, there is a vein inside of Saudi Arabia right now that says we must crush the United Arab Emirates. This guy goes on to say, you promised no wars. He did. He promised no wars. You've conducted operations now in 7 countries: Somalia, Iraq, Yemen, Nigeria, Syria, Iran, and Venezuela. There has been 658 airstrikes in your first year back. Biden's entire term, which was criticized, is about the same. So Trump has done more war-oriented activities than the entire realm of Biden's administration. Says here, war costs 40 to 65 billion for operations, possibly 220 billion total. We're spending about $1 billion a day. So we're probably about $7 billion into this thing already. 1 month, we're going to be $30 billion into this. What happened to the American people? What happened to MAGA? What happened to the putting America first? $30 billion? Says here, your approval ratings are down 9% in 400 days. Now, if you listen to MAGA talk, Trump is up literally to what? 90% with this war? I don't buy it. Says here, Americans were promised peace. They're getting war funded by their taxes. Yeah, pretty much. Says, continues on here, he says, the sharpest line. Before the ink is dried on your Board of Peace initiative, we find ourselves facing military escalation that endangers the entire region. So where did those initiatives go? These are questions that is being asked now in the Middle East. See, as I see this going down, and this letter does end here, it says, true leadership is not measured by war decisions, but by wisdom, respect for others, and pushing toward achieving peace. See, I would go back to this. I would go back to our roots, which would be rooted a lot on Osiris, on Isis and Osiris. The idea that we are going to conquer the world through goodwill, through song, through intellect, through negotiations. Are there bad actors out there? Yeah, you can start with Israel, okay? You can start with the Jewish population in your country. It's really hard. It's really hard to move forward with a policy whereby we actually work collectively, keeping respect for everybody, appreciating everybody, when your entire motivation is designed around Jewish Talmudism. Now, if you were to remove Jewish Talmudism, would we be better off? Probably. I mean, look at the Sackler family. 1 million Americans dead? And you're going to talk and whine about how Iran's a problem? You got 1 million dead because of the Sackler family? Selling all these pharmaceuticals to basically a legalized murder of the American people, and you want to whine to us about Iran? You know, the drug culture in America, how much is that funded by black ops, primarily with the CIA? How much of that ties into Jewish mafia, organized crime? So would you have all of these gangsters going on in all of South America if you didn't have the U.S. government, through its black ops, controlling the drug trade in America? See, all these issues are so complex, really, and they really are for the average person out there, especially those that just want to wonder where their food's coming tomorrow. It's really hard frankly, for the larger body of the American politic, or body politic, to start to wrap their heads around it. But we have to ask ourselves, do we have the manpower to turn this thing around? When I say manpower, I'm talking about intellectual wherewithal to do the organization, to do the intelligence, to map out everything that is going on. Do we have the manpower that exceeds what this long-standing, well-entrenched system has in play? We may not even have the manpower. We're still arguing for the most part on small-time radio stations. Now, we are happy to see that it is expanded. We're happy to see that now people like Tucker, like Candace Owen, and many others are now talking about it. It's all great stuff. We see a massive Overton window shift. I remember 10 years ago, if I were to say something and I were to go into my comments and I actually struck a nerve, it would be 90% against me, 10% maybe supported me. Not even that. Sometimes 95% against me. Now I go into comment sections about these Israeli fifth columnists like Mark Levin, and I see they're getting ratioed probably 60 to 40, 70 to 30 to where they're actually being beaten down rather than elevated. Still, that's 30% too much, but imagine the difference compared to a decade ago, where if I were to say something that got some traction, literally I was getting hit 90%, ratio. I was getting beat up. That's taking a lot of hell of arrows for people that don't have to take it today. Do I complain about that? No, because this was part of the game. Somebody had to be communicating these 10 years ago. Somebody had to be speaking about it. And we were very small, and we understand that. So the Israeli rabbi, we covered that. The sinking of that naval vessel to me is just so cowardice. Now, I'm looking at a picture here on my feed here. What Gaza City looked like. Exact camera angle, right? And literally Gaza City's been leveled to nothing. And you're looking at a war now against Iran with a leadership that says, the destruction, we're going to come after you. What are you going to do? You're going to do to Gaza you're going to do to cities in Iran that you did to Gaza? See, this level of barbarity, frankly, means that I don't support it. But I have always said that Tel Aviv needs to be leveled. It should have been done by us, the American people, with our military because of the crimes that Jews have created for us. And that means if we have to incinerate everybody, frankly, in their bunkers, hey, man, it's like 99%. Some figure came out, 99% of Israelis support the war in Iran right now. It's like they're completely behind this. All right, then let's get Trump to back out and let the Iranians finally finish off the Israelis. But we're sending 12,000 bombs. We're sending another 25,000. Guys, 25,000 bombs we're going to send. Less intelligent than the 12,000. And they're going to be shipped out of Turkey. 25,000 bombs. We're giving Israel 37,000 bombs that would allow them, that would essentially flatten the entire state of New Jersey. Like, what the hell is your plan? These aren't indiscriminate weapons. They're basically designed to flatten areas in an urban situation. You're not going to go out and use those in the desert. We know exactly what Israel does. So it's really quite amazing to me that, the bombs keep flowing to the Israelis. Now, as we've heard, here's another one. Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, they're quiet today. alhamdulillah, as they say in the Arabic world, they're quiet today. It's because it's Saturday. These freaking morons are sitting there beating their head up against some Torah or whatever they do on their Saturdays. I don't care. And they're not bothering us in the open forums. I know people have gotten fed up with a lot of the bullshit coming from the Jewish community on X. I've seen people say, look, just shut the frick up already. Stop whining every 5 minutes. Like, what, do you have a job? Mark Levin, do you have a job? Is your job to whine every 5 to 7 minutes? You know, I don't know. Maybe you have an AI putting out this whining for you. But if you're sitting there, sitting on a keyboard whining every 5 to 7 minutes, what the hell's the matter with you? You're so desperate to convince us Americans? Really? So many different Jewish people I've noticed going after Tucker. Here's Ted Cruz. Now, mind you, let me first get into Ted Cruz first.
They're developing are being eliminated.
Let me back that up here.
The president's decision to launch this military action was the single most consequential decision of his presidency. And the fact that the Ayatollah is dead, that his senior leaders have been eliminated, that the missiles they're developing are being eliminated, that is making America much, much safer. The reason the president gave the order to begin the bombing is because Iran presented a serious threat to the United States. Iran, over 47 years, has been the number one state funder of terrorism in the world. Over 90% of Hamas's budget comes from Iran.
But the problem here is that the world sees it much differently. The world sees the United States, the Jewish government, as the number one state sponsor of terror in the world. So it's like everyone's looking at this Ted Cruz guy like, dude, this guy's an idiot. He's literally an idiot. He's the terrorist. Okay? We're defending ourselves. You've been sitting there saying you're going to bomb us for 47 years. You finally got a president stupid enough to actually do it. So rather than that you come into Iran directly, yeah, we've been fighting you because you're saying you're going to fight us and you've been fighting us for 47 years. Now, we never went after you directly in 47 years. There are people that don't agree with your policies, so they want to fight you. Okay? Fighting or raising armies is something that the American CIA is famous for. It's what they did in Ukraine, Bay of Pigs, you name it. They fund this crap, Maidan, in 2014 in Ukraine. That's what they do. Regime change. They did it in Syria. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how we can claim we're safer now. Our embassy, meaning ours is the American, and the British too, I believe, but our embassy in Amman, Jordan, is closed. Our embassy in Riyadh was actually hit, mainly the CIA section of the building. The UAE is shut down. You can't evacuate us. Bahrain is shut down. Our bases all over the Middle East are getting hammered. How is it we're safer? How is it we're safer? The international community is looking at gas going up to 100, 120 maybe dollars per barrel. How are we better off? See, they sit there and they talk about all these talking points, but how does it make any sense? Because it doesn't.
Over 90% of Hezbollah's, the Houthis' budget comes from Iran. The Ayatollah was responsible for murdering nearly 1,000 Americans.
Dude, shut the frick up. The Sackler family murdered 1 million people. And he was let off scot-free. Jewish pharmaceuticals murder hundreds of thousands of Americans a year, yet we're not allowed to even talk about it. You think I'm impressed with 1,000 people that are sitting in a foreign country being targeted because they're occupying a different country? See the difference here, guys? All right, it's The Fetch. Inside the Eye Live, back with more right after this. All right, everybody, welcome back. It is indeed the Fetch. And you are live. Let's see if this goes correctly. It doesn't. Okay, never mind. We'll just go back. I don't know why it's not, but okay, it didn't. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's the Fetch inside the Live Intelligent Media. For the politically aware, again, I want to just reach out to somebody, a longtime supporter, listener, and way deeper than most of you understand, nor need to know, but he goes by the name of Von Hash. Von, I saw you just subscribe to us over on Rumble, and we really appreciate it. Good to see you again, man. I know there's problems in Spain for a lot of people, and hopefully you're doing okay. I don't know where you're at right now. You feel free to get in touch, but good to see you, man. Great to see you. As far as we want to go back again to Grizzom, it is a key issue relative to this show. Grizzom has been literally our longtime distributor. Zapopper has a long time ago been our archiver. Literally, Zapopper's got my back door. He's got the keys to everything. He was archiving at his own site for a long time. He was shut down at archive.org. Then he went to archive everything over at my personal account. All of my interviews were wiped, swiped, destroyed, taken down, whatever. And but the show itself has not been. So we still have all our shows going back to around 2013, something like that, on archive.org. And geez, there's so much stuff there, man. I went back and listened to some of it with Tom Sunick and the late great Tom Goodrich, and so many stuff, so much stuff. Even I went back to look at a Henrik Palmgren interview back in the day. So we don't know what specifically happened to Grizzom. Okay, we just don't know. We know it's down. We saw that it's no longer available. What we can't confirm without actually confirming it with Zap or somebody associated with the site was this taken down by Zapopper, or was it taken down by Google? They finally just said enough is enough and they took them down. It is a blow to us, frankly, because we were still getting roughly 500-600 views, downloads from Zapopper. It's down from a high of 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 to 10,000, 12,000. I think our biggest show was like 12,000 something back in the day. So it is a big issue for us to lose this as an outlet. What I'd like to do is set up maybe a new website, maybe Grizzom.com or mammyshit.com. And if people want to participate in that, maybe what you can do is get in touch and you could reach out. Reach to me at thefetch@insidethelive.com. Maybe we can set up the site. We could get a few admins going, editors to that site, and continue with what Grizzom has been doing for all these years. That might be a cool thing to do, because frankly, we need our own distribution channels other than our own unique channels. It's a great thing to have. So that would be all a good thing. We have the clip here with Rubio saying essentially Israel forced our hand, and let me make some comments about this. Let me get Rubio.
This operation with a fair goal line. I got a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind it and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bears to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit that, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that.
See, what I find here, Rubio's just a freaking idiot at the end of the day. And the guy's a freaking moron. None of that logic makes any sense. Okay, what? You can't rein in your proxy? All of those weapon systems are American. The F-35, the F-16s, they're all ours, literally. There's covenants, conditions, and restrictions. You could have just told the Israelis, okay, we're not going to participate, and we're not going to give you any spare parts. We're going to let you freaking hang. We're going to get out of this thing. We're going to call up Iran. We're going to say, hey, look, the Israelis are going to attack you. We want nothing to do with this. We are cutting off spare parts. We're going to cut off Israel. We are going to just let them hang. Do what you want to these idiots. We want no part of these freaking morons. They're just psychopaths. You could have done that. No problem there. The American people would have supported that, frankly. Yeah, we would have had our Christian Zionists and the Jewish community up in arms, but they're just a small minority. They're not America. They're just a small voting bloc at the end of the day. I mean, you're fighting a war because what? Your donors are asking to fight. Who are the donors? Did the donors elect you into the presidency? The donor's one person. They can't put you in. You need the tens of millions of Americans to put you in. It's not the donors. Who the hell are the donors at the end of the day? So you're basically telling tens or literally close to 100 million Americans, screw you. My one donor says we got to go to war with Iran because my donor wants to see this great cataclysm between Israel and Iran, but America's going to do all the fighting for you. So it's like, okay, we have to fight. We have to go to war against Iran because, we're going to get hit because Israel's going to let Israel go. The Israelis are freaking morons. Had you told the Israelis, okay, but we're backing out. We're going to cut your spare parts. We're not going to do anything for you. We're going to maybe disable elements of all of our weapon systems. You're going to be a sitting duck. Go ahead. Knock yourselves out, assholes. Do what you want. Why are you putting up with these freaking flakes? Oh, I forgot. Maybe you're blackmailed. Maybe you had sex with your daughter. You know what's interesting? Years and years and years and years and years ago, I'm talking about 2015, 17, I had a guy, he was a financial sponsor. I haven't heard from him in a while. He's busy. He's got his own issues right now, too, with the government and everybody else. But and he's not a bad guy, by the way. It's just that, when you're in this world, you got to deal with the problems that are fed you. And he told me, he said, my take on Trump is that he probably had sex with his daughter. And now it's coming out that now it's like being plastered all over the place. Trump had sex with Ivanka. And because of this, he's being blackmailed. But I know a friend of mine years and years, he was an Intel guy. He told me the same thing, probably 2016, 15, 18, somewhere. It's been so many years, I forget. But he told me, my read is that Trump probably had sex with Ivanka. Now we see that coming out. So now we've got this entire administration hell-bent on war. Now let me explain to you what happened in Europe. We had the 30-year war. Something like that. You know what I mean? We had the 30-year war. We had some wars before then. And what that did is it didn't just decimate the populace. We lost like 40% of Europeans during these wars. 40%. And like everyone was, well, you've never suffered a genocide. Look, we lost 40%. Shut the frick up. We people will fight ourselves within ourselves because we have our ideals. It's not for you to dictate to what you think you know about our culture. What the hell do you know about our culture? You freaking don't know shit. Shut the frick up. But seriously, what happened was the elites back in the 30-year war, they suffered terribly. It wasn't just to the common person. So what happened is you had this idea that if you're going to wage wars, you never went after the leadership. Never. And the idea was that if you went after the leadership, how are you going to negotiate a treaty? How are you going to get that treaty to stick if there's nobody really centralized to negotiate it? It's like really, really difficult. So how are you going to negotiate it? And that stands all the way through up until today. And the first thing these morons did is they take out the leadership. Okay, you just basically admitted you don't want peace. How stupid are you? I mean, we know you're stupid. We know that the Trump, Rubio, Lutnick, Kirshner, all these people, at the end of the day, they're stupid. They can't make a deal. They can only threaten. They think everything is a mafia real estate deal, and we're gonna just bully our way in. But the world's like sitting back saying, we can't fight American power. It's very strong. They're not stupid. They understand America's very powerful. They don't want to see their people harmed, so they're not trying to go to war against America. But how do you ignore the fact that the Americans just come in? To start it off, they do a massive child sacrifice, kill 165 girls, young kids, literally girls, in their like elementary grade, literally 5, 7, 10 years old. And then at the same time, they take out the entire leadership. And then they're puffing their chest. Oh, look at us. We took out the lead. Dudes, you're idiots. You're freaking idiots. Who are you going to negotiate with? Now Trump's sitting there saying, oh, well, more death and destruction. What, is that supposed to impress all of us? Is that supposed to impress a people that you just wiped out their leadership? That they're all supposed to say, okay, Mr. Trump, okay, we give up now. Really? What planet did you come from? Planet Judaism? If that's really a planet? Planet Talmud? What planet are you from? You take out 30, 40 people, and then you say, whoever is voted next to the leadership, we're going to take them out next. What incentive does anybody have to negotiate with the great grand negotiator Trump? He's not a negotiator. He's a dictator type of mindset. Do what I tell you, or I'm going to use my weapons and I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to kill you. You do what I tell you to do. We're going to take all the oil. Literally, you have people in the American administration right now literally saying, we're going after the oil. The oil's ours. Israel, they can go ahead. They can have, I'm talking about people that aren't necessarily in with this pro-Israel, pro-Israel, Greater Israel Project. They're just saying, all right, look, let's give Israel the Greater Project. We don't care. But we want the oil. We're going to take all the oil. Once we take all the oil, we won't have to worry about terrorists. We won't have to worry about funding. We're going to have control of the oil. Like, okay, the Chinese are going to sit there and let you take control of the oil without any fight. Maybe they would. I don't know. It's possible, I guess. I know the Chinese just put out their 5th-year plan. Their next, I think this is going to be their 18th 5-year plan. And one of those is going to focus on fusion or fusion. In other words, alternative energies. Okay, at some point they want to get rid of, obviously, having to rely on oil. But okay, it's so bad right now that you have Besant, who is Commerce Secretary, something like that. He's up there saying, oh, well, we're going to probably unsanction Russian oil because, we're got a problem on our hands. We can't get enough oil out of Venezuela yet because there's disaster down there, so we're going to unsanction Russian oil. Again, these guys are idiots. From a tactical geopolitical point of view, they're actually not very smart. They're sitting there bombing the people that they need to make a deal with. Okay. So in the meantime, your bases are being freaking wiped out. Literally. Your carriers are being shoved 1,000 kilometers away because you can't afford to have your carriers getting hit. You're bragging about sinking frigates that are 2,000 miles from home that was literally there on a parade thing that you were part of at the Indians government's invitation. Now the Indians haven't said a word about it, so think about this. You get invited by India to come to this parade of show of goodwill of different navies. U.S. is invited. They pull out at the last second. The Indians say, hey, look, here's one of the frigates. Go ahead and blow it up. Indians don't say a word. It was one of their guests. They came all that way to be a guest. So where are we at today? Your bases are getting destroyed. You're being pushed out. Your THAAD radar system is in shambles. Your entire early warning system is being basically systematically destroyed. Oh, but Americans are safer. We've only lost 4 people. Yeah, I buy that. That's not what the intel's saying at all, in fact. The intel's saying it's much, much worse than that. Let's see. This clip here, I skipped that clip. This was an interesting clip. I'll play this clip. This is some guy, some short form video producer.
Pete, you changed your title to Secretary of War because you love war so much. You started the war. Pete, everybody went to bed Friday night. Everybody went to bed Friday night. No war. We woke up Saturday morning to war. Everyone woke up to war because you started it. At 11 p.m., the president called you. And he knew you'd be awake because you're probably doing Jaeger bombs. Because you love bombing shit so much like your own liver. And he said that I need a distraction. Give me a war. And then you grabbed your phone and said, ChatGPT, I need a distraction. Give me a war. And then ChatGPT gave you a war. And then you named it Operation Epic Fury because you're brain in the PlayStation 2. You stupid man. You started this war, and you know how to finish it. You're lying to everyone. You're gaslighting people so much. On every way, you're literally gaslighting people. You're literally burning oil fields on the other side of the world. You have no win condition. We're in a biblical holy war now, and we are being run by the fucking Antichrist, Pete. You have no wins. You have no way out. You're a loser millennial who failed upwards his entire life. And now the entire world is staring at you, and they can see that you are a naked moron. And now you have to hope that we somehow survive. And the best case scenario for you in the name Pete Hegseth is that it is slowly forgotten in the same way we've forgotten the names of all those World War I generals. You fucking donkey.
I don't know. I found that one actually entertaining because, I'm not alone. These guys are freaking morons, guys. We're dealing with a leadership in America that has the freaking brain, the brain talent of a 90 IQ type of mindset. They're driven by ideology. They're ideologues. They're really believing in this bullshit about how Jesus is going to come back once they destroy Iran, and they can't lose because, it's a Jesus sent us type of scenario. How do you negotiate with these nutcases? I mean, seriously, how would you, as an adversary to the American leadership right now, how do you negotiate with these people? How do you negotiate with Netanyahu, who's been trying to start this war for 47 freaking years? How are you going to negotiate? So you have no choice. You have to fight this to its logical conclusion, which means that either A, Israel gets destroyed. B, the United States is removed from the entire Middle East, and don't think that may not happen. Or C, Iran gets destroyed. So now you have Iran, which is being helped by Russia and China against Israel and the United States. Now, mind you, when you go back to the American wars in the past, when you look at the Gulf War I, I think, it's like, 17 or 40 countries, some ridiculous figure like that. You mobilize like 1,900 aircraft. You mobilize hundreds of thousands of people, and you went in and you took care of Saddam, and you basically wiped out the country, but you kept Saddam in power. Then in the next Gulf War, you only had like half of the planes, half of the countries, and you went in and this time you wiped out Saddam, and you basically killed him, destroyed the entire leadership, and you created an Iraq that is in complete chaos, that today cannot even protect your embassy in the green zone because, well, you destroyed everything that was actually keeping everything stable. Idiots. I know it's run by Jews. What do you expect? And now the latest thing that you're operating on is a war against Iran. It's yourself and basically one other country, Israel, which has been asking you to do this for 47 years. And finally you get a president stupid enough to actually do it. Now you got a Trump saying, oh, Tucker has lost his way. Well, I guess Fetch never had a way, right? Fetch was inconsequential. Never mind that everything we've been saying is today's talking points. That's how inconsequential we always were. You know, we talk a lot about one basic truth. One basic truth can be built on a mountain of lies or something like that. And if we take out that one basic truth and we put it on top of the mountain of lies, the mountain of lies will crumble under the weight of that one basic truth. And basically it's Delamere Devereux, I believe, is the guy that wrote this in the 1600s. And he's basically stating, I got to paraphrase this now because I don't know the whole poem. But if you put out that one basic truth, it reverberates. And it has an effect on the society and the world in ways you just don't know. But you have to put it out there. It has to be verbalized. It has to enter into the ether. And we understand this, being quote unquote from the Kabbalistic realms. We do understand how it all works. We actually get it. And we always have understood that if we put out that one basic truth, eventually it's going to reverberate to the point where it can no longer be contained. And I'm not the only one having done this. Many people were working with us. Let's be honest. But when we break it down once again, we're looking at an end times war here. You can't negotiate with an Erdogan because he thinks he's going to create the greater Ottoman Empire. You can't negotiate with Netanyahu because, well, he thinks he's sent here by GD to create greater Israel. You can't negotiate with Trump because he's got this narcissist, I'm Cyrus the Great and I'm going to defeat the Persians so that we can rescue all the Jews again. You can't negotiate with Pete Hegseth because he thinks it's part of some, Armageddon to bring back Jesus. How do you negotiate with this type of flake? See, there was a reason why we always said you got to separate church from state. Because the church people are absolute, you get deep into the church world and you're talking, excuse me, absolute loons. I mean, literally absolute loons. There's no way around it. Amazing, huh? Literally from what I hear, by the way, going over to Iran, or not Iran, to Abu Dhabi, Dubai. It's terrible if you're trying to get out of the country right now. People, there's even rumors where people are taking like donkey carts to Oman, trying to get to Oman so they can fly out through Oman. Qatar's airways are down. Dubai is down. Bahrain is down. Saudi is going fine. I don't think Saudi's going to be a problem because of the geopolitical issues I've said. I've always said that the Iranians and the Saudis are actually quietly collaborating together behind the scenes. I still believe that's kind of true. But, yeah, it's just terrible what's happening here in the Middle East, man. All because of frickin' Trump being stupid. Hegseth being stupid. Just no more wars, guys. There's a better way to do things. It's the Fetch. Going into the final break. Back with more right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Fetch Inside the Eye Live, intelligent media for the politically aware. We want to thank everybody who is newly subscribed to the Rumble feed. We are really wanting to get that at least to its minimum 100. That's like, you can't get into the Rumble Creator Program without being at 100. Okay, that's there. I think YouTube is 1,000. Rumble's actually been doing very well for the show. Seriously, it's the right market fit for this type of content. Obviously, we're doing three we do a half-hour bonus section. So we're doing like 3.5 hours, and we are getting really, really positive responses to everything I see out here. So I'm very happy with what I see. And so that's encouraging. Now, we've had a very bad week with Grizzom.blogspot going down. This is a big problem, frankly, for distribution. People are asking, where are you posting the podcast? My advice, guys, is that you go to InsideTheEyeLive.com and start watching there. I will have to restart posting at InsideTheEyeLive.com. You can go to maybe Castbox and subscribe at Castbox Inside the Eye Live. You can go to, I think it's Castbox Inside the Eye Live. Maybe it's Radio ITEL. I forget. Look it up over at Inside the Eye Live. I'll start reposting Inside the Eye Live. You can pick up the edited version of the show on YouTube, Inside the Eye-Live on YouTube. And then, of course, you could always pick up the archives here. And we have been putting up most of the shows also at BitChute, which is Radio ITEL. So those are some of the places you can catch the show. We want to announce real quick. Guys, I've been chatting for about 2.5 hours. Telephone lines are open if you'd like to call in. That's going to be 213-401-2617. That's 213-401-2617. We'll try to get you on the air if we can do that. That would be cool. Otherwise, of course, we're going to keep going because we do 3 hours of intelligent media for the politically aware, and that means we got to keep moving here. Let me go over to our X feed, see what kind of news is breaking here. Did you know? Yeah, this is something we had flagged earlier. You got to stop being racist in the UK, guys. I'm really ashamed with you people over there. Because you're flying two things. You're flying the Union Jack, and you might be flying the, what is it, St. George's flag or something like that. The red cross on the white background. But according to a new government leaked social cohesion strategy, flying the Union Jack in the UK is going to be branded as a tool of hate. Can you imagine that? You're flying your own national flag and that's considered a tool of hate. What they're really saying is that there's no more identity for the British people after this. It's like saying, no, you can't fly. You know, we have here in Saudi Arabia National Day. And then we have Founders Day. And when those 2 days come, they're trying to break away from the secular, the religious side of things and create more of a secular society here. So they've got the two holidays, National Day and Founders Day. And each one of those days, you will see literally tens of thousands of Saudi flags put up along bridges, streets, strategic intersections, causeways, you name it, they're going to be everywhere in all the main cities. And looking at this memo here, they would say that basically would make this illegal. You can't do that type of stuff, which is absolutely insane. There's a woman here. Let's see if I can fold this. I can't. It's not quite clear, so I can't go with that story. Good old Trump. But leave that story. I don't want to get into that story. Is Tommy Robinson still in America, by the way? I haven't heard whether Tommy's there or not. He was there criticizing Tucker Carlson. It's like, well, you're in our country. You don't need to be criticizing our people, dude. Trump is claiming, by the way, that the drug infiltration into the United States is down 96%. You know, there are some wins from Trump. I mean, he is a huge loss when it comes to foreign policy. He's a disaster when it comes to foreign policy, frankly. You may believe that he's doing great, but frankly, no. When you're taking out, like, look, you don't have to like the the Shia leadership. I don't care for the most part. But, he's like, you're taking out literally what's considered like the Pope. You know what I mean? Be like bombing the Pope, taking out the Pope. You're going to piss off a lot of people. You're not going to get over that. It's like, dude, what a stupid moron. Really. Just stupid. Just stupid. Okay. So basically, Trump, as you know, he's been very gung-ho on his war against Iran. He's saying basically Iran is basically completely defanged.
We've knocked out 42 Navy ships, some of them very large, in 3 days. That was the end of the Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out their communications, and all telecommunications is gone. I don't know how they communicate, but I guess they will figure something out. It's not working out too well. And they're bad people. They're just bad people. When you look at October 7th and beyond October 7th.
Again, don't bring me October 7th. That's like bringing me the Holocaust. Okay? If you're going to use October 7th as your justification, you're freaking a delusional idiot. You're buying into Jewish propaganda, literally Jewish propaganda, where Jews went out and murdered literally most of their people, 1,200 people, and you're going to go commit the United States to a war on something that has nothing to do with the United States. Whatever happened on October 7th has nothing to do with us. Literally, as American people. Has nothing to do with us. Why do we care, dude? We're not Israelis. We're Americans. Most of us who are talking here, and of course from your own countries, I'm sure your leadership is asking you to participate equally, but we're like, who cares what happened October 7th? Literally, who cares? Again, don't drag us into Jewish bullshit. We can't help the fact that Jews are so stupid they got hit on October 7th. Is that our problem? That they're so freaking stupid that they allowed this to happen? And yet you're going to go attack Iran, which had nothing to do with this? This was Hamas. It would have nothing to do with Iran. Iran is Iran. And you've already allowed Hamas's territory, Gaza, to be literally flattened. 83% of the country so flat, you want to buy it up for pennies on the dollar, create your board of peace, and go in and rebuild it so you can basically control it as your own private country. No say for the locals. They all just become a bunch of serfs to your corporate greed that you want to control the land with.
All the killing that they've done over the years, for 47 years.
Please, please, please shut up and deal with the Jewish crime syndicates in America. All right? The Sackler family murdered 1 million people. All right? The CIA is involved in a lot of your drug dealing. What are you doing there? Your FBI is out there covering up for all your pedophiles while we have 400,000 kids disappear every year. And you're going to whine to us about 1,000 people that are murdered when they're over there in a foreign land that you guys put them there? If they weren't there, they wouldn't be getting killed. All right? What about the 400,000 children, Trump? What are you doing there? You went in with your Q thing, your Q, I don't know, make it a, your Q PSYOP, whatever you want to call it. You raise up the issue and, whoa, we're fighting back. We see some pushback on it, but at the end of the day, have you stopped 400,000 kids disappearing? What did you do to the Sacklers? All your buddies in the pharmaceutical industry, they want to make it illegal to use anything but their drugs. You want to create basically a digital ID that forces you to take their vaccines. And you're going to talk to us about Iran? Literally, you're going to talk to us about Iran. You got a country right now that frankly is just in, I don't want to say chaos, but your kids, it's just insane. You're half your country is basically OnlyFans. All right? Half the women are working as OnlyFans. In fact, have you seen all this? I haven't seen it for a few days now, but all this, when the war broke out inside of Persia, all these women or Persians basically dressed and behaving like they're trying to set up an OnlyFans account and like, oh, Trump is winning. Oh, look at us. We're so free now. You think Americans are impressed with that? We're tired of this bullshit. The women are understanding, yeah, it's not working for them. Men are saying, you know, we're going to go our own way now. MGTOW, man. We're not going to deal with women at this level. Our society's completely imploding. Yet you're going to parade a bunch of Persian women as if they're a bunch of OnlyFans trying to create the same problems we have in America today when it comes to the relations of the sexes. And you're supposed to say, oh, this is so brave. So brave that we're going to basically become prostitutes for some porno sites run by Jews. Okay, way to go, Trump. Good job. Awesome. Let's run out to the phones. Let's see if this is working. Hi, welcome to Inside the Eye Live.
Hey, thanks for taking my call today, Dennis.
Welcome.
You know, I just wanted to make a quick comment about how low down and slimy what they did with that torpedo against that Iranian ship.
Thank you for supporting me on that, because that was the most loathsome, low, dirty game I mean, that just disgusts me. But go ahead and continue.
Well, the law of the ocean has always had a certain unwritten rule and written rule. Even the pirates of the old, they would save the people that they would blow up. And to imagine that the Indian Navy actually didn't come to their aid. They were the closest ship after the Americans did it. It was the Sri Lankan Navy that had come from super far away. To imagine that they ignored, international maritime law that goes back thousands of years, there's an ethos. And they just did that, and it's low, and it's crime, and it sends a message to the world. We are the gangsters. We are the scum.
Agree. I mean, Hegseth is either a murderer or a war criminal. One or the other, and both of them means he should hang.
You're really brave out there, Fred. We all appreciate you here, and God bless you. You take care of you and your family.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. So far, so good, right? But, we have a lot of people still believe in our mission here, inside the deep circles. You know what I mean? We're not all bad, but we are really got some problems right now with this gangster.
Well, for people who are traditionally, it's just a new page being turned, and we are just in uncharted territory here, and the world's in the crosshairs.
It is. And it's been taken, I tell you. All right. Well, thanks again. I thanks for supporting me on that issue, because to me, it disgusts me too.
You're the man at that. Take it easy.
All right. Thanks so much for the call. Guys, if you'd like to get in, it's 213-401-2617. That's 1-213-401-2617. Hopefully that went out. I believe it did. Frankly, I hope it went out, but it should have. But if not, it'll be on the recording, so you'll get it on the recording. Again, if you'd like to catch the show afterwards, you can always subscribe. Again, we want to get the numbers up to 100. I don't want to be begging, because I'm not, but this is the nature of social media. You need subscribers to get any cred, street cred. So we're now up to 90 subscribers. We keep adding. That's a great thing. We want to get up to 100. We do have a lot of uniques out there, and some of you are going to hear this on the archive. So even if it's not you now, we're going to get to you. But before we get into that, let's run out to the phones again to 346 area code. Hi. Welcome to Inside the Eye Live.
Hello, Rich. It's Bruce.
Hello there. Bruce, I got a story for you. Bruce, I got a story for you. I ran our shows once through the AI, looking to create segments for the perspectives piece. And you were a caller once, and the AI was talking about you. Which was kind of cool. It's talking about you. Talked about, remember Vera way back in the day from Salmon Arm? It was a show way back in the day. And talking about Vera, and then one show they were talking about Bruce, how cool it was. We were able to just talk together. The AI found the interchanges rather entertaining.
Well, that's something else. Well, thanks for that information.
Welcome. What's on your mind? Long time.
Yeah, I'm going to get some things out real quick because we're coming up to the top of the hour, and I hear a little bit of echo, so I'm going to turn down my volume.
Good idea.
And wait for your response.
Okay.
Trump is, I think he's been knowing what he's been wanting to do since day one with this war with Iran. And yeah, I didn't fall for it. I kind of knew what he was all about. But the thing here domestically in the United States, he was a much better option than Kamala Harris. But you know, it's like pick two poisons, and one's going to kill you faster than the other. You know. And this deal, firing Kristi Noem after she comes out and make kind of let go that SARS-CoV-2 was created in the United States. Okay, and then tie that together with Trump, China virus. Remember that? Over
yes.
again?
It was made in China.
And all this crap,
Yes.
And, he's been just his whole mission in life is to take down Iran. This golden idiot, man. It just blows my mind, man. They're going to kill the country. They're going to kill the world. They don't watch it. Did you hear about a countdown clock going on in Iran? I think it's a test mute. What do you think?
I kind of follow the MBS line of logic here. It doesn't matter if you get a nuke. If you use it, you're going to be dog meat in these types of circumstances. You know what I mean? It's difficult. In other words, you're spending a lot of money on something you really can never really use. But, people are afraid of it, and they think it's a great deterrent. So I would think a lot of countries are going to go for it now because it's very clear that the United States is a gangster state. You just can't trust it.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing is this here the Belt and Road Initiative. They want to cut that off, before they complete it, and they go straight through Iran.
It actually does. Straight through Iran was actually supposed to also come into down into Saudi, which was part of the reason why Saudi started to lessen up with the warfare with them, because to complete this thing, they would need to put this to come through Iran, down through Iraq, and then into Saudi, and it just made a lot of sense for the two to bury their differences, because at the end of the day, both countries need to develop their economies for their people, and that's been the main interest, I know, here in Saudi, and I'm sure Iran would like to have a better economy for their people also. They're not like the Jews running America, where everybody can be damned, because as long as we Jews get everything, we're okay.
Yeah. Everything goes back to Banks' War. Rivero was good on that. It's one of the good things he did. In World War II, they had to take down Hitler. They had to take down National Socialism because it was making the capitalist banking oligarchy obsolete.
True. I mean, even not Roosevelt, even Truman. What's this guy's name? Not Roosevelt. Churchill, he said, look, the biggest crime that they had was they created the new economic system, and that could not stand. That was their greatest crime. I mean, he said that in 1936, that's the reason why they destroyed Germany, was because of this.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for taking the call. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, equally. Thanks for calling in. And I need to look into Kristi Noem. I haven't looked into that at all. I heard she got fired, but it was only one post. So I didn't have a chance to really study it. Now, wasn't Kristi Noem DHS? Not Tulsi Gabbard.
RFK Jr. to a research laboratory, and then she gave a press conference or tweeted or something afterwards. And kind of stepped into it by doing that.
So and what we're describing here then, it's the pharmaceuticals are the greatest terror threat in America. They'll do anything just for profit. They don't care. give you whatever disease, whatever, just so they can make money. They're the real terrorists, not the Iranians. You should be worried about your pharmaceutical companies. Okay, that's enough. I kind of get it with that. So, okay, thanks so much for that information.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks so much. That's Bruce in Texas, everybody. Telephone lines, once again, you got maybe time for one more call. It's 213-401-2617. That's 1-213-401-2617. If you'd like to get into the door there, we'd certainly like to hear from you because, hey, it's your show also, and it's all good stuff. Let's see here. I think what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do an extra half-hour bonus segment on Rumble. So if you guys kind of pile into the channel here, I think what we'll do is we'll do an extra 30-minute bonus segment on Rumble once the show is finished on Revolution Radio, which is going to be another 3 minutes. We'll have one more segment of perspectives to just give my voice and me a rest, and then we will come back and do a bonus segment right after that break. So you might want to pile into Rumble and pick up that if you are so inclined to do so, that is. Let's see here. Christians, people, I don't know, did you see that story about the guy? Okay, this is an oy vey moment. Leo Terrell, as you know, he was in America. He was in California. He was a big radio host in California, and he had this show with, I think, a guy named Katz. And Terrell now is like the anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism czar or something. Not a czar, but he's some type of official anti-Semitism guy. And apparently in Chicago now, the Jewish leaders are pressuring the Chicago mayor, who's a black guy, Brandon Johnson, to create an anti-Semitism task force. That's right. Saying he is not doing enough to protect the city's Jewish population. The Chicago Commission on Human Rights Relations found that the city is, just not doing enough. And there's a 58%. You ever notice how Jews have numbers all the time? It's 58%. It went up from 3 to 7. That type of thing, 12 to 15. The Chicago commissioner, again, 58%. To be clear, that's not hate incident, it's hate crimes. Again, aren't you tired of Jews defining such stuff in such bombastic, anti-American rhetoric? It's like we're all so terrible. Crime everywhere is pretty much down. And all that Jews want to worry about is themselves, getting special carve-outs for themselves. And I don't know about you, I'm tired of watching it, frankly. It never seems to go away with these guys, but it's there. Here's somebody complaining here that they found, get this, 70 plus, this is terrible news, guys, 70 plus radical anti-Israel posts linked to one particular account, and that was the wife of Zoran Mamdani. Absolutely terrible. 70. Can you imagine, in a world of tens of billions of quotes and tweets, 70 quotes were found? Oh, I'm so sad. All right, guys, that's the show. Back for more. We're going to go into a break. We'll be back with a half-hour bonus segment on Rumble. So you guys just make yourself on over to Rumble. Seek InsideTheEyeLive.com and join us there. We'll be back with another half-hour bonus segment. Back after this.